Energy Center in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The National Hockey League presents the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Buckle up, baby. Are you kidding me?
Two-man shoots and scores. Neal walked right down the alley. To the goal. Score. Holy Jesus Christ.
That was a sick goal by Sidney Crosby.
Hello, intent to injure, and welcome to the Round 1 Playoff Podcast. Eric Zaleski and Austin Revito with a dramatic intro coming into you live from the revamped Zaleski basement. Of course, we thank you for joining us here. A beautiful Monday in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. A lot that we have to get to. Of course, congratulations to the 4 teams that made the playoffs. And let me just say right out of the gate, it's a lot easier for us to do this one now that we're in the playoffs as opposed to the football one where we were talking about 4 or 6 other teams when we had literally, we couldn't have been farther away from the pulse of fantasy football this year. So it feels a little bit rewarding to sit in front of the camera. You know, we've kind of talked and we've critiqued all season long about people's lineups. And it feels good to be sitting at the top. But, of course, still a lot of work left to be done.
Yeah.
So 60% of the league has been eliminated, and I'm sure that probably 60% of the league will not watch this podcast.
We're okay with that.
But this is really for the teams that have come through, have battled all season, and have acquired themselves a playoff spot. So we'll start off here, and let's start with the matchups. The number 1 seed of the regular season was Talkett's Book Service. They finished with a resounding record of 20-3, and they haven't lost a game since the week of November 3rd through November 9th. And I believe that puts them at an 18-game winning streak. And they will be going up against the number 4 seed in Blake Wheeler, and that's, of course, Jacob Boss, who finishes the year 13-10, and I'm sure if you asked him, he thinks he should probably have a couple more wins tacked on the end there, as he claims he did below a couple of games due to poor management, but that's on him and on nobody else. So
I do remember one was on the way home from Penn State. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He was in the backseat panicking, trying to pick up guys left and right.
Somebody by the name of, he kept reading Thomas Tater.
Yeah.
And we're like looking at him like, Thomas Tater? He's like, yeah, Tatar. We're like, Tartar.
Not quite.
In every language that's pronounced Tartar. But yes.
But yeah, so that's the matchup for round 1, and of course, in some leagues they do 2-week playoffs. This is only a 1-week playoff, so 7 days, which I think advantages.
I have a gripe with that. Yeah,
the
so
lower
we'll get
seeds.
to that. Yeah, that's shitty.
Yeah, and
we didn't even think about it though. I mean, that's not
Yeah, we
on
did.
anybody. That just sucks. The last year, I've mentioned this a few times. The last year that I did this, Jake and I made the championship, and it was 2 weeks, which was cool. And then it was if the lower seed was ahead after 2 weeks, you went to a sudden death last week. So it really rewarded you like staying with your team the whole week. So technically, if I would have beaten Jake for the first 2 weeks, we would have gone to like a last week where you just like plug everyone into your lineup that you can, and then this definitely helps the lower seeds. That's not even a question.
Yeah, like I'm going up against Jake this week, and I mentioned I haven't lost in 18 weeks, but I also at the same time don't feel that confident because in 7 days anything can happen. Right. And of course we'll jump into the matchups, dissect each team a little bit, and kind of see how things stack up for the week. But anything can happen. It really is what does make it fun, though. At the end of the day, it's not fun if you're a 1 or 2 seed going against a lower team, but at the same time,
it's weird. It's always like nerve-wracking because it's like
It
if
is.
you lose, you're going to hear about it. You don't really like. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it's like you had the 2 best teams all year, but this is why it's fun.
Yeah, and it all comes down to this.
It's March Madness.
The second playoff matchup, we obviously mentioned you are in it in the most recent team name of King of Quarter Zips. You finished the year 18-5. Probably should have been 19-4. You punted the game against Goodnight Jim Kite.
Good way to put it. I played with an empty net and still almost won. So
Yeah, it was Clay. It really came down to the wire, and actually. I know you posted on the message board. I don't think many people even picked up on it. I'm sure the bottom half of the league's even fallen. It probably hasn't been on the ESPN site in weeks.
There's
but
likely truth to that.
So you ended at the number 2 seed, and you're going up against Sam Mendelson, the Jonathan Quickies, who ended the year 15-8, and this team is streaking 5 straight wins. And a pretty tough draw for you, the way the Quickies have been playing recently. Now, we might as well get into it right now. Before the podcast, I kind of went through and just looked at the matchups, 1 versus 4 throughout the course of the year and 2 versus 3. So I mentioned that you draw a tough matchup, but the 2 previous matchups between the quarter zips and the Quickies have been really one-sided. With Revita, you had 2 50-point victories in the 2 times that you met the Quickies this season. So this maybe would suggest that it's not that close, but at the same time, I mean, the way the Quickies have been playing, and you've seen the totals they've been putting up over the last few weeks, that's a team to be reckoned with. And I think it's no matter who was going up against the Quickies, they knew that they were going to be in for a tough matchup.
You want to know the great equalizer of having like 2 goalies who are going to start to lose? The great equalizer is having the Sharks playing 4 games in a week. So I could probably.
So that's a good point. So,
I have Tavares and the Sharks and Jamie Benn playing 4 games this week. So I'm not too.
We've kind of already started
concerned
to dissect this matchup. So let's hop in. 2 versus 3, King of Quarter Zips versus the Jonathan Quickies. You mentioned the Sharks play 4 times, a major advantage for you as your team. I would probably argue about 40% of your points come from those Sharks players. Maybe 35-40.
I would.
That's a heavy.
I mean, you could probably get a decent estimate in a couple seconds. I mean, if you look at just go to the points and then like I'll go to the standings. You go to the players, and I mean, it won't be too hard to figure out. Having those 3 guys, like I literally played 3 guys against an entire team for a week almost and won. So I have, let's see here real quick. I have points for. I have 3,000. Let's just round it. I have 3,000 points for.
All right. So get the calculator out.
Pavelski has how many points?
So
I have 3,000.
You are the owner of the top 3 San Jose Sharks players.
Correct.
Number 1 is Joe Pavelski with 265.5 points.
Okay.
Logan Couture is second with 224.3.
324.
And Brent Burns, the defenseman of San Jose, third with 222.8. All with averages of 3.1 or higher.
Divided by 3,000. Yeah, they're responsible for 25% of my points.
Yeah, I mean that's and
over what 20-some weeks. I mean that's pretty absurd.
Yeah, that's so. For you, obviously, just a major advantage having the Sharks.
And I mean,
for 4 games this week. Wow.
I mean, Logan Couture is ready to be one of the best players in the league too, which I think is great.
And you know what's a little bit strange is those guys have been so productive for the Sharks this year, but the Sharks just can't seem to figure it out. And they mentioned the other. I was watching the game the other night against the Canadians on. I think it was on NHL Network, and the announcer said, their top 2 lines are like all world, but the issue is they have no depth whatsoever. None.
We're used to that actually as Penguin fans. I feel like. Probably not to the degree that. They're with this year. Yeah. I mean, when you're trotting out, Matt Nieto, they've been pumping him up for a while, and he's now on the second line, but it's like, is he really a second-line player? So you wonder what they have in the 3rd and 4th, and it's not great. Tommy Wingles, and things of the sort. So
all right, so let's continue to go up and down through your lineup here, kind of talk about some of the guys. Jamie Benn, the Dallas left winger / center. He's obviously had a heck of a year. Mm-hmm. And I know Sagan's back, so that certainly helps. And, I mean, what a nice way to start off the week with a little softball against the Buffalo Sabres. You can go ahead right now and pencil him in for at least 2 points.
I clicked on the right one. Yeah, so that's a nice one at home against the Sabres.
So
Nugent Hopkins against Winnipeg. Nugent Hopkins is just producing. Click on his stats. That kid is a stud. It sucks. I feel badly for these kids who play in.
Yeah, 22
Edmonton.
goals.
He has 5. He has
6 5-game point streak.
6 goals over the last 6 games. 6 goals over the last 7 games. He has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, so he has 15 points over the last 7 games. So he's averaging over 2 points.
Yeah, and the nice thing about Edmonton,
yeah,
because I picked up Taylor Hall, and we'll get into that, but I noticed, at least as far as my schedule is concerned, Edmonton this week plays on nights where not a lot of teams are playing. So having a guy from Edmonton is huge because that's a quality start on a night where not a lot of people are going to have
a bonus.
starts.
And if you're starting somebody from Edmonton, it's probably one of their better players. So
Right.
it doesn't. It's not like some like harbinger where it's going to make your team suck or something like that. So
that's having Edmonton players this week, definitely an advantage. Nick Bukestad, the next guy on this list, and he appears to be day-to-day the Florida centerman. Lower body, missed practice on Monday, and is doubtful for Tuesday's game against the Lightning.
Yeah, he won't. I mean, he's never really in the lineup, so it doesn't for me. He hasn't scored in a while. More or less, I've kept 2 players to drop to pick up goalies this week. So, I mean, they're right on top of each other. Well, no. Sort of on top of each other, right next to each other. They're both cats, but I mean, like, I don't need it. So I mean, I've already gone through and figured it all out. Just with the Sharks playing 4 times this week, I haven't.
Everything else will kind of fall into place.
That's the best way to put it.
Another guy I want to talk about, and this was a guy that I was looking at on the waiver wire as he just came back from an extensive injury, was Sami Vatanen, the Anaheim defenseman. And I saw he's off to a nice little start. He's had a couple points.
He had a toe pull yesterday on Kreider in that game that made Kreider look incompetent. I mean, it was a great. I think he actually wrung one off the post. He didn't even get a shot on goal for it. But no, he had an assist last night. I'm pretty sure he is just a good defenseman. If he gets going on the power play, he is lethal.
Yeah, he's had 2 games back from injury. He's had an assist in each of the games, and he has 12 goals, 24 assists through 59 games.
What was his injury? Was it like a foot or something?
I actually didn't even see. It was weird. Like They didn't really mention.
Yeah, that's why I was like, well, I'm just gonna pick him up because I couldn't care less if. I mean, what for me? Like, I didn't give a shit if he played 2 weeks ago. It just said lower body.
Yeah,
had sidelines since beginning of February. Lower body. So that's the NHL for you. But yeah, Pavelski. There's a nice. See, so the nice thing is, I'll take the what's her face? The Sharks at Ottawa. Okay, I'm a law of averages guy. This kid from Ottawa is going to lose.
The Hamburg.
And the day he loses, he is just going to get rained on by goals. And no better team to just... who would still have a playoff chance. I mean, they're 6 points out. And the thing that's nice about the Sharks is they're chasing the Flames. And the Kings are also chasing the Flames, too. So they're going to play competitively till the end of the season. There's probably, about 10 or so-ish games left, give or take.
That's right.
So... I mean, these teams are trying to catch the Flames, who are, well documented. They're down their best player. The Norris Trophy should be winner. I mean, yeah. So it's kind of whatever. So I mean, the Sharks, they're not out of it. Ryan Tingle doesn't have to find the West End Bridge yet. He's close. This is no backpad thump. Close. If I'm him, I'd rather them not make the playoffs than lose in the first round.
I agree.
And what last year happened? I mean, you turn that base up and you just. Backpad thump on
Tyler Toffoli, empty netter.
It was 4-1 when he put that puck in the net.
Yeah.
5-1 empty netter. Just
And that was to complete the full. They were down 3-0 Kings to Sharks, and they rallied off 4 straight. And I'm pretty sure we've mentioned it on the podcast before, but Ryan Tingle's Twitter feed that night was something to be seen.
It was, and I will never forget it. Opened with "Don't ask to come into my beach house ever."
Yeah, that's how it started. He was just snapping on everybody for no reason. He was looking for reasons to go out of his way just to snap and take some anger out.
Like, imagine just being like a friend of his who didn't care about hockey, and just earlier that day you said like, "Hey, we should do something this summer." Bad time.
Yeah.
Not good timing.
You also have to know like what's going on.
I agree.
There.
Yeah,
it's there was no chance I was trying to talk to Ryan during those weeks.
Right. Yeah.
Not even if I had to, I would have avoided it. I would have asked like his mother or something if I needed something. From
I would have been more comfortable texting Rick.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
All right, continuing down the lineup, and let's try to make this pretty brief here. But obviously, you have John Tavares, your first overall pick. He's lived up to everything. The Islanders have had a nice season.
He could win the MVP. He could legitimately win the MVP.
He's as good as they come. So he'll produce this week. Moving into your goalie situation here, I noticed you do have quite a few.
4.
4 goalies on your lineup. You picked up Ramo today. He's got Colorado tonight.
And not a must win, but it's a win. It's a needed to win. So.
Is it? What's Calgary up to? I have not checked the West.
They're at 84 points. They're up. They're they're in third, so they're in the playoffs. They're in third place in the Pacific,
Right.
but it would help them greatly to just keep winning because the Kings are at 82 and the Sharks are at 78. And I just did that from memory, which is like unbelievably sad. And then if you go to like Minnesota, so the wild card is going to be Minnesota has like 87 points and I'm blanking. Who would it be? Somebody right below them. Whoever.
Vancouver?
Would it be Is it Vancouver?
I don't know. I'm just guessing off the top of my head.
It could be, but it's like 87, 86. So it's likely they're not going to get caught. I have it pulled up
Vancouver
right here.
actually might be a little higher.
No, yeah, Vancouver is 88. It's Winnipeg. So the wild card in the West is you're looking at right now Winnipeg and Minnesota, and then everyone else is kind of chasing them. So yeah. So Calgary needs to keep winning. They need to keep pace.
And as it relates to fantasy, that's really what you're hoping for this time of year is that you have players playing meaningful games, and because you can have one end of the spectrum where the games don't mean anything because they're so far ahead. They might even be more inclined to rest maybe one of your starting goalies, give him a day.
That could be the worst.
Somebody has a little tweaked injury, they're just going to sit him out. Whether that be a star forward or what have you, or you could also be like have a guy from Arizona, which I actually think maybe outside of Ekman Larson, nobody else has in the league. But those guys, they're intentionally tanking to get a draft pick. You don't want anybody on that team because they don't care. So if you can kind of find that happy medium, and obviously you can't do that with your entire roster, but having those guys this time of year definitely valuable. Your other goalie's John Gibson, who has not been very strong.
No, he has been. He's had 2 bad games in a row, but he was.
Yeah, I was referencing the game. I watched the game last night, and he got lit up.
Yeah, he got LTFO'd, but he had 3 wins in a row with 2 shot with it, and he got his first shutout I think recently. So yeah, I mean him and Anderson are just gonna switch. I'm only gonna play him when. See, like the thing that stinks is like I'd like to be able to drop Elliott, but I'm not dropping him so that somebody else can pick him up. So I'm like going to hold, and you can only roster 4 goalies.
Yeah.
So Bobrovsky's playing out of his freaking mind at the moment. So Rama is just going to be the one that I keep rotating out. But because Elliott, I'd rather stash him on my bench and keep him so that nobody else can have him. I mean, I give him credit. He also has played well recently. I know he had a shutout last week against Calgary. He gave up 1 goal against Winnipeg and lost. So he still got me 2 points on a loss. So he's actually playing okay. But his next game's again at Detroit. Yesterday they played Detroit. Jake Allen played. So he'll probably get the next start. It'll be up in the air if I use him or not. I'm not too concerned about it. There's going to be so many goalies on the waiver wire.
Yeah, and of course you've Sergei Bobrovsky.
The Bobby. He's playing.
Without going any further in depth. So, the king of quarter zips, which is probably your 5th name of the year or so, 4th name of the year. You guys have put together a nice little season here. You're hoping that it continues moving on here through the playoffs. Jumping over to the other side now with the Jonathan Quickies, and I mentioned the team coming on strong, 5 straight wins. And I'm just going to kind of read down the lineup here again, and we'll just make some subtle notes here about some players. David Backes. He also has TJ Oshie, the combo over in St. Louis. Those guys have been great. I know they've been catalysts for him. One guy I did want to mention is Patrick Hornquist, who's currently out. And
drop him.
Let's see. It says he's unlikely to return for Tuesday's game. He didn't participate in Sunday's practice.
Look, I look at it this way. You're not going to get – you can get 10 players off the waiver wire who are just as good as Hornquist, and they're playing this week.
Well,
and this is a 1-week thing. This isn't like – I mean, I'm going into it where if I'm going to – I will – this week I may drop Bukestad, who I've had on my roster the entire week, or a goalie, because if you don't win this week, there's no point of stashing a player for next week.
While I agree with that, although you just said, well, okay, well, let me just stay on Hornquist. The thing is there's a chance he comes back this week. And they just said, like, initially they were saying he might play Tuesday. Now he's not going to play.
The games for the Penguins this week are, the first one is Blues, and then it's at New Jersey, and then home against the Yotes on Saturday.
Yeah.
Do they play Sunday? No.
Yeah. So it was previously reported that Hornquist might be ready to play on Tuesday. but now they're saying he's not going to be ready to go. So there's a chance he doesn't get in this week, but I think you at least hold on to him here and wait and see what the report is maybe on Tuesday. Maybe they say he's not ready to go tonight.
Then you let him go.
If they say, he's going to be out for obviously that's something you got to play by ear. And once I get to my lineup, I'm going to talk about that as well. That's a frustrating guy though for the Quickies because
you had a lot going for him.
You said that there's a lot of guys on the waiver wire that are you could replace Hornquist with. I kind of disagree with that. Whenever Hornquist is healthy, because he's playing with Crosby and Perron, that's hard to replicate. However, if you're only going to get one start of Hornquist out of the week, and you can get maybe 2-3 starts out of somebody else, I understand that rationale.
Maybe it's just more of a quantity over quality kind of.
Right.
What do you want?
And that's and like you said, it's a 1 week thing. So sometimes you're going to have to go with quantity. And I'm sure we're going to see a few cases of that this week leading into next week. But that's something, Hornquist, I'd play by ear. I'd wait and kind of see what the next report is before I'd make a move. You mentioned the Hamburglar, Andrew Hammond. And ironically enough, the Quickies have him. And not just him, but Devin Dubnyk as well. So 2 goalies that emerged in the second half of the season. And that's why the Quickies have been so hot. It's really been these 2 goalies. He does have Jonathan Quick, which is kind of humorous. And it looks like Dubnyk and Hammond are going to get the start tonight for the Quickies over Jonathan Quick.
Played last night. Didn't they?
Who did?
The Kings.
I don't know if they did. I don't think they did last night. No, they didn't play last night. So, and that's, that's a tough move given that LA needs to win that game. But I guess all 3 of these teams are in positions to win, and he's going to ride the hot hand of Dubnyk and Hammond, and it's really hard to blame him. But you want to talk about why they've been so successful, 5 wins in a row. It's directly correlated to those 2 goalies right there. So this is definitely going to be a good matchup. I know that you mentioned San Jose has a bunch of games. I know LA has a bunch of games this week too. And he's got Gaborik and Quick, so that helps him in that regard. And we talked about Edmonton forwards. He has Benoit Pouliot. I'm sure that was a calculated pickup if he hasn't had him for a while, based off the fact that Edmonton has a favorable schedule this week for fantasy.
The Benoit Pouliot who played with the Rangers last year on that Zuccarello and.
Let's see. Yeah, he was added on March 23rd. So is that today or yesterday?
Today. Zuccarello, and he picked up the wrong jet, by the way, just letting you know.
The wrong jet?
Isn't Benoit Pouliot?
He plays for Edmonton. I'm making a big point about why he.
Edmonton. You said I just heard Winnipeg. Sorry.
So that's exactly what I was talking about. Edmonton this week has a favorable schedule, so a nice pickup there by him. And this is going to be a good matchup. I think both playoff games are. The question is it is prediction time. And it's obviously tough for us. It was easier for us to sit here and predict games that we weren't involved in when we were talking about fantasy football playoffs. This is a little tougher because you don't want to pick against your boys. You
mean in terms of by boys? Do you mean the team? Or
your team.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't really care about anybody's feelings per se.
Yeah, I was unsure what you meant
over fantasy hockey. Just looking back here at the past couple of weeks, did you fully set your lineup last week or no?
No, I didn't on Saturday. I forgot on Saturday, I think.
So that's the problem. So this is hard to gauge because I was going to go back and just kind of look at total, point totals from the last week and kind of see where teams are trending. I mentioned the Quickies have been really good, but nobody can get a read on your team because you haven't been set in the lineup for a couple weeks. So
I did yesterday. I just think I've Saturday. Maybe it was either Friday or Saturday. Well, I went out Saturday. So Saturday, I think I forgot to set it because I was watching out of the left corner of my eye, I was watching Villanova, NC State, which I called that, by the way. You can check my bracket online if you want. Not like Ryan Tingle, who just says he picks every upset that happens, but we've all seen
multiple
that on social
Ryan
media.
Tingle mentions in this
podcast. But I had that in one eye, and in the other eye on Saturday there was the what's it called? Penn's game was on at Fatheads. There was a bunch of shit going on. My eyes were all over, and I had the phone fired up. The girl was not too thrilled. Yeah, sometimes you got to pack it in outside of the man cave. That's shouldn't have gone. I fully laid out there what was going to happen. Hey, kind of pulled a Marissa there. Hey, this is what's happening. This is not a couple's retreat. This is Austin's bunkering down at the bar at Fatheads. She did not believe it, but She does now.
All right. So back to the prediction here. Honestly, my rationale is going to be as simple as this. I think if the Sharks had 3 games this week, I would take the Quickies. The fact that they have 4 games, I'm leaning towards taking the quarter zips just because we've seen it time and time again how deadly the Sharks are. And to have those 3 guys healthy and rolling for 4 games and must-win situations, it's just too hard to pick against them. Obviously,
they're pretty freaking good.
Obviously, I think that the Quickies have the edge in goaltending. You wonder if that can continue between Dubnyk and Hammond. You don't think so, and tonight could be the night that the Sharks blast them. But let's call it what it is. Tonight is huge.
Scroll down and look at the. No. Go back.
Just hold on. What do you want? Communicate.
I just clicked the schedule.
Well, I was under my lineup.
Fair.
So that's why I was moving out.
I hate this. This one sucks. Go to. Let's do it on mine because it'll come up.
All right, so I'll continue with my thought here. I was going to say tonight, the fact that the 3 Sharks are going up against Hammond and Ottawa in goal, we might know right out of the gate here how this week's going to go one way or the other. If the Sharks blow up Hammond, it's going to be hard to see the Quickies recovering from that. If Hammond can shut out the Sharks, major advantage to the Quickies right out of the gate.
So this is interesting. So this to me this looks really nice. So I have the Sharks, who are one of the most offensive teams in the league. Toronto sucks, so Dubnyk will get a win tonight. Kudos. This is a hinge game here. This is big. But then you have Dubnyk not playing back. But you want to play back-to-back against the Islanders, be my guest for minus points. The Rags are the best team in the league, so Hammond will get that start. But then Hammond's not starting back-to-back. Toronto, Florida. So you can have your 8 points from your goalie. That's perfectly fine with me. But Calgary, LA against Dubnyk, both teams need to win. Both teams need to win both teams are chasing Minnesota per se. LA's chasing Minnesota. I trust the Kings a lot more than I trust the Wild in a must-win game on a Saturday.
But you're forgetting that he also is Jonathan Quick, the Kings goalie here.
Right. So where do you hedge your bet there?
You might not have to. They might be starting,
Right. Well, that's what
Dubnyk the opposite night, and then.
So right. So like what you're looking at here is okay. Well, if he starts tonight, he's probably not. If he starts tonight, he's probably not starting tomorrow. And then if he starts here, he's probably not starting here. So you Minnesota
Can we communicate
plays.
to our viewers what we're seeing? Because you're just saying here and here and here. And
we're looking at the upcoming schedule of the goalies here.
Right.
That would have been.
So, anyways, I think that we'll have a pretty good idea tonight. I will say it, and we mentioned it early on, that you have defeated the Quickies in both matchups by about 50 points each. I don't think it's going to be that kind of a game. I think this is probably going to be within 10 points. Pretty easy to predict that, the way both teams have been playing recently. But I'll give the edge to you, given that the Sharks have 4 games. Your prediction?
I'm actually trying to figure out which player I want to drop at the moment, to be honest. Like looking through schedules here, but
well, we can do this after.
No, I don't want someone to pick them up. I don't know. I mean, who likes predicting themselves? You just look like a fucking cockbag. So like,
all right.
I would say
then we'll say we don't have to predict each of our games. The other person can predict.
I say it'll be close, but I think I'm broken record here, but I think having 3 players who are the best scoring players, top 3 scoring players at each of their positions going 4 times this week. The law of averages says that they're gonna get off at some point. The law of averages also says the goalies are gonna stumble at some point. You're playing some pretty decent teams this week. I mean, it is what it is. Like, I mean, my goalies are nothing to write home about, but I've been doing this all year. So again, maybe law of averages says this is when it all fucking blows up in my face. So to each their own. So I have tough matchups goalies tomorrow. So I have Gibson at Columbus, Bobrovsky hosting Anaheim, and Elliott with Pittsburgh. And I'm probably going to drop Elliott here within the next 5 minutes because I'm not starting him here against the Pens, who sort of need to win. Who knows what you're getting with that team? They're the biggest ball of shitbags I've ever had to root for. Like, it's just their heads are just, I don't know if they even care. I'm questioning them caring at this point. Like, I mean, I don't know. Like, congrats on your win against the freaking Yotes. It took going down 1-0 for you to, like, step on the gas.
And the goalie putting one in his own net off Sutter's back.
Right. So
Sutter didn't even want to score that goal.
He had turned away to skate away. So, I don't know. You tell me what the hell the Pens are doing. But, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it'll be close, but I think the Sharks, if I have to be objective, I think the Sharks put me over the edge. Because I don't really like anyone in his roster. He has we're looking at the wrong one. He has decent players, but none of them are like, I'm gonna go get 3 goals and an assist or 2 and 2.
He just had kind of some steady under the radar contributors all year. But you're right. He doesn't have that one name that jumps out as like, you could consider this guy the best player in the world. Like you have John Tavares,
who has 4, and I also have Jamie Benn, who has 4 games this week, and Nugent Hopkins has 4. So I mean, like.
And we'll see how it plays out, but that's certainly going to be one to tune into. I know I'll be following that one all week. We're already at the 30-minute mark, so we got to jump over here to the second matchup, which is Talkins Book Service versus Blake Wheeler. And 3 matchups this year between the two teams. Boss got the best of round 1 with about a 20-point victory.
That had to be a long time ago.
Yep, that actually may have been my last loss at the beginning of November. And then the Book Service has been victorious in the most recent 2 games. The first win by 20 points. The second one, which just was this past week, was a 10-point victory. However, Jake wasn't focused on setting his lineup at least yesterday, and I saw he had Stepan, who he had an empty spot, could have played Stepan, who had like 11 points or something, so he actually would have won had he started
Stepan had a huge game.
Yeah.
He had 2 goals, and I think they made a big point about it during the game. Like, he hadn't had a point for a while, and then he had 3 or 4 points yesterday.
Right, so, I mean, when it comes down to it, this past week's matchup really could have went either way. And I'll start off here with my squad, and I'll tell you right out of the gate, my week is dependent on 3 names, particularly 2, Evgeny Malkin and Pavel Datsuk, both currently day-to-day.
I always forget about that with Malkin, for you.
Both are day-to-day. It's not sounding like Malkin's going to play tomorrow night, but I think he's going to be back in for
Thursday.
Game on
they said
Thursday.
although they said he skated today. The Twitter just said it.
He's getting close.
Hopefully, for the sake of a good matchup, you just hope he plays.
And kind of the same deal here for Pavel Datsuk, it says on here he's not optimistic about playing Tuesday, but
that's what you like to hear.
He's in a lingering lower body injury, and he's a better chance of suiting up Thursday. So, like, they're both kind of on the edge here where I might get 1 or 2 starts out of them at the end of the week. I'll tell you right now, my prediction is everything is dependent on those 2 players, because that's 6 games right there that's easy. I'm either going to have or I'm not going to have. And when you're talking about Malkin and Datsuk, these aren't, second line players who are, a complimentary player on a power play somewhere. Those are, 2 obviously key pieces.
2 cogs in the wheel.
So that's huge. That's pretty dependent on my week. And also Kevin Shattenkirk, a guy that the Book Service traded for at the deadline, still not back yet, but he might actually be back by the end of the week, which would be nice just to get a start out of him. And that's, of course, the Blues defenseman who was leading the league in points whenever he fantasy points whenever he went out. So
yeah, that was so yesterday I was watching that game on what's it called? I'll drop him at that point, but I was watching that game, the afternoon game on NBC, and Doc kept wanting to say Shattenkirk, like, on the power play, but he would say half the word, and then he'd be like, Petrangelo.
Yeah.
And I was like, he wants him back so bad. I mean, that guy is so that defense is insane.
And it sounds like he's close, but with those 3 guys kind of as question marks this week, major advantage to Blake Wheeler here.
Yeah, you better hope that Malkin plays Thursday.
Yeah, because that's a big part of my week. Now, it's been documented. This is a star-studded lineup. We talk about Mendelson's lack of stars, but going up and down the lineup here for the Book Service, in addition to Malkin, Datsuk, and Shattenkirk, Ovechkin, Giroux, Taves. I mentioned I recently picked up Taylor Hall based off the schedule for this week. He's fresh back from injury. Tarasenko, how good has he been for St. Louis? Chris Letang, I like to see him produce maybe a little bit more, though he's had a couple good games as of late.
I have a clerical question here. This
Okay.
doesn't make any sense. So I picked up Ramo yesterday, March 22nd. Today's the 23rd, and it says that I used then I just picked up Shifley about 30 seconds ago, and it says that I used
2.
Yesterday's, not today.
Yeah, but you did it once the games on Sunday started, so it couldn't be applied yesterday in your lineup.
Oh, that's
so it comes
fucking
over to
nigger.
today. No, it makes a ton of sense.
But so I couldn't pick up a guy that I could have started last night. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
Before the game started, because there was a game at 7 o'clock.
Could you have started him last night? Here's the issue. Once the games start, so the game started yesterday at like 12:10. Once those games start, once NHL is underway for that day, any pickup you make comes through, and it counts as whenever you can play him next.
Oh, that's Jewish. I mean,
it's been that way literally.
Yeah, I
all
mean,
season.
it probably has. I just never thought about that. But if you played him I'm just asking if I. So let's say I
Could
picked
you have
up.
played him last night?
That's what I'm wondering. No, I mean
The
Ramo.
Calgary play.
No, but that's what I'm wondering. So if you picked up a Ranger, because I know I've done that, like at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a Saturday when there's games.
No, that wouldn't have counted towards today. Actually, I don't know.
I wonder because that does
No, if you
the
can play
logistics
him
of it don't make sense at all. Because if you play him, then it counts for the week before.
Sunday is a weird day because games start at noon, and not many people are making transactions like that. But you've done it this year, and it always goes towards the next week.
That's stupid.
Because games are underway on Sundays. Yeah, it's always done that.
That's
because I've done that a million times this year.
No, I wouldn't have done that if I knew that was the case, or I would have done it earlier in the day. Well, that sucks. All right. Because I just looked at it, I was like, wait, who the fuck did I pick up?
Well,
I was like, wait a second, holy shit!
Well, I mean, all right, so you got one matchup acquisition counted against you, but it's not, in the grand scheme of things, not a major deal. You're still getting a goalie that's starting tonight and getting points that are going to get credited towards this week. So
I just figured I'd buck the system. Literally, I went into it thinking I was going to...
the system.
Thinking I was going to... tell that to...
All right, so continuing down the lineups here, my last player I mentioned was Chris Letang, and just going up and down. I have the D pairing out of Nashville, Yossi and Weber. They've been great this year, but Nashville's cooled off a little bit as of late. Also have Rene as well, so that's my Nashville trio. Traded for Justin Falk at the deadline, the Carolina defenseman. He's been steady. Marc-Andre Fleury in goal. Obviously, we hope not just for fantasy's sake, but
there you go.
That they can start getting some wins. Thank you. Then Pacioretty, Henrik Sedin, Kyle Okposo, Cam Talbot, who's been awesome, but I don't really have a spot for him in my lineup this entire week, so you might see him out on the waiver wire. I don't know when Lundqvist is coming back either. I think he might be back pretty soon.
I thought it was going to be sooner rather than later.
I've been waiting for this to happen for weeks now.
Yeah. But then every time he comes back, it's like, oh, he's practicing intensively. You know, that's all they give you. It's not like, oh, but he's...
Well, now the most recent updates, he just had a kid. So now they're wondering how long it's going to be before.
Oh, really?
I didn't know. That's going to be a
there you go.
setback.
See, this is always ahead of that. Yeah. Are you going to get him? Because if you don't, I probably will.
I mean, that's collusion right on camera for you.
I'm saying like you had meant you. I mean, it was documented that you said you were going to pick him up first. So like by all means, you have the you can get him first if you want him.
But all right, let's just continue here. What time are we at now?
We are.
This is.
So it's actually not as bad as
so let's jump over. Let's assess the Blake Wheelers, and
well, right at the top, he's got his guy,
Blake Wheeler, and he's had a nice little season. Blake has.
Oh yeah.
22 goals, 34 assists, plus 23, 213 shots. I mean, what can you say?
That whole Jets team is very much.
They're quietly a good team, sneaky good.
There's no star player on their team.
Right.
The whole Evander Kane mess. Now they have Drew Stafford getting into the playoffs. Tyler Myers. They have talent. I mean, they could beat somebody in the first round of the playoffs. Maybe we always go back to them with the goaltending.
Right. Yeah. You don't know what you're gonna get.
Hutchinson. Ugh.
You're riding the hot hand with those two, and sometimes now their hand is hot.
You
to
wonder.
say it nicely. Continuing down the lineup, I mentioned LA. I think has 4 games this week, and now this is where my trade with him is kind of coming back to bite me because I traded him not one but two LA players, Tyler Toffoli and Drew Doughty. So I'm going to be seeing a heavy dose of them this week.
Oh shit! You only have 3 people going tonight.
Yeah, and I did want to mention that actually. So
no goalies. Oh no, yeah, no goalies.
Yeah. So.
Oh, there was your okay.
Yeah. So 10 versus 3 starts tonight. Blake Wheeler over Talkers Book Service. I did do the math, and obviously it's dependent on whether or not like Malkin and Datsuk are playing, but. By week's end, it's pretty even.
It always ends up like that. Yeah,
I had
weird.
like between 50 and 55 starts, depending on injury, and Blake Wheeler had like 53. So it gets there.
It may not be your best players, but you still get the sample size is still going to be about the same.
Right, and so what it comes down to is I'm gonna have to be able to stomach being down the first few days because that's gonna be the case.
I don't like that. I must say.
Neither do I. But I'm not going to mortgage my team just to stay in it early.
Agreed. I like in fantasy football the 4 times I've won in the last 2 years, like won a game, I've never won.
I know where you're going with this.
I like to have the players later in the day, so like you see what you're chasing. It's like
and you know what you need.
Right. It's like playing defense in college football in overtime. Right. You like know I need the touchdown or a field goal. But in hockey, for some reason, I like to jump out like 10, 15 points. Because then you always have like, okay, if his goalie gets a shutout, we're tied. Not like I'm down in the toilet. So, it's the breaks.
So continuing here, just a couple of noteworthy names. Erik Karlsson. And, I mean, you don't really need to say much else.
Patrick Marleau tonight.
He's so good. Marleau, the Sharks player. He's old, reliable. Corey Perry. And I'm pretty sure he's coming off a nice evening, if I'm not mistaken. A 2-goal night, 8 shots plus 1 against New York last night. And they got blown out, so that's actually impressive.
Was it 7-2? 7-3?
I think it ended 7-2 or 7-3.
Oh, he still has Thomas Tatar on there.
Tatar, yeah, there he is. So he's in the lineup. Martin St. Louis is currently out. You wonder what Jake will do with him. There's no update on his status. So,
what was his injury? Lower?
I don't know. I have no idea, but that's a guy that's definitely replaceable. You drop him, you don't feel too bad about it.
No, yeah. The nice thing about him is he had the versatility, but there's, like Jared Spurgeon has versatility. Scandella is up there. Like, there's a lot of people on the waiver wire right now who are ripe for the picking.
Right. And of course now just down to his goalies, he's got 4 of them as well. Braden Holtby, who I think he's carried more fantasy value than anybody else could have expected this year. He's played 64 games already, has 35 wins.
64 games?
They just start him. They start him for like months at a time.
64 games? Like what?
That's what I mean.
His legs are gonna fucking fall off. 64 games.
You wonder how that's gonna translate.
How many games do you think the Capitals have played this year?
Probably 72.
73 games. He's played 64 games.
I remember them saying, I remember they were on national TV, maybe against the Pens. And Dawson was like, this is just like, he started for every game for the last 3 months, I believe was a stat at one point. And it's like, you wonder for them how that's going to translate to the playoffs, seriously, for the Caps. Because,
64 of 73. That's fucking ridiculous. There's a reason why that team can't win in the playoffs. There's a legitimate
Well, that's going to be a reason this year. I don't think that's been an issue in the past, but that's ridiculous. But as far as fantasy goes, that's a steal. That's a steal because if you would have known that guy's going to start that much, he's probably a top 2-round pick.
64 games. If you would have asked, I would have said in the low 50s. Like I wouldn't even. I don't even know who their backup is. I still would have said low 50s. Is it Neuwirth still?
No, he's been on 3 different teams since.
Literally, that's how much I follow the fucking Caps. But wow.
So, yeah. So
what are you doing?
That's obviously his horse. He has Niemi as well. Ben Bishop, who's been awesome this year for Tampa Bay. And Jake Allen. So he's got 4 goalies. I noticed he only has 4D maybe in the lineup. Literally. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's it.
That's all.
He has 4D.
It's not. I have 5, so it's nice to have that extra one because they have bonus point. Everything's a bonus point for. I always count 1 goal as a defense is a goal and an assist,
right?
Which it is actually, but I can't get over that. Oh my, 64 fucking starts.
So,
for comparison's sake, Carey Price, who has 40 wins, has 58 games started.
Yeah. which is a ton also.
Right, like when people say like, oh, like he's the guy that plays every night, like like no one ever like. I mean,
it's just random too because Holtby isn't the guy that you think would have that kind of number.
Fleury has 56 starts. I mean, like that's holy shit.
So, all right, so just to round out the matchup here, Book Service 1 versus Blake Wheeler 4. I've been on the record, and kind of like you said, you don't ever want to pick yourself.
It's just like, doesn't it? It feels weird.
No, because like it's like I don't. You obviously don't know what's going to happen. That's why it's a prediction. I would say if there was ever a week I was going to lose, I mean, this is a great opportunity for Boss because
you're wide open.
You're open. Malkin on day-to-day, Datsuk on day-to-day, Shattenkirk on IR. I mean, if I don't get the next report, if it's not good, he's just going to be dropped so I can get another lineup spot. But, like, I mean, I'm waiting on 3 guys here, and that's 3 guys that Jake's not going to have to wait on, pending what he does with St. Louis.
What does Shattenkirk's little thingy say if you click on him? Because there's no, like, recent update.
I know what it is. So it says he's not playing on their 3-game road trip, which I think started yesterday in Detroit. And then he's got Pittsburgh, tomorrow. But after that little 3-game road trip, I think that that's going to be he'll be back in the next game or 2. So it's like it's a tough decision for me because it's like, do you want to have him maybe for 1 start this week and ride him through the championship? It might take him a game or 2 to get his feet under him.
Right.
So it's tough. I made the trade hoping I could have him back for these 2 weeks. It's gonna be a close call, so I'm gonna wait for another update there.
I didn't realize he was out that long.
Yeah.
He had that perineal perineal. Hopefully, he didn't have a perineal injury. He had the fucking
He had abdominal surgery.
Yeah, he had like he had like a peritonitis injury. So he had like what happened was he had like literally part of like the fascia of his like abdomen that just runs right down that kind of like binds everything together just tore. Like that's how hard like the hits are that like it tore his muscles apart and more or less he had like just a big hernia. Like his like intestines and everything were just like falling through. I mean not like in the gram, not like falling through, but they're definitely coming out. So like that's the thought to even come back from that is just absurd.
Well, it's funny because first off, it's a shame the NHL loses a guy that was playing that well because like he was having really a heck of a season. If you look under my Google search history, you'd probably see every other search is like Kevin Shattenkirk news. I've just been waiting to get this guy back in the lineup. I've read so much about him, but it's getting down to crunch time. But to finalize a prediction here, I'm actually going to go with Blake Wheeler.
He's bucking the trend, maybe a little bit of a jinx in his own head, trying to get...
I mean, the way I look at it is this. I mean...
He has a good option. Look, the way that I look at it is this, for me, for both of us. It's really hard to beat the same team 3 times, and that goes without saying. Look at baseball. Look at everything. I mean, it's rare. It's just rare to do it. Like, a law of averages says that you're not going to. So, I kind of don't feel great. I'm not going to lie.
Well, I don't really buy into that as far as fantasy hockey is concerned, given that I'm on an 18-game win streak. I mean,
that's fair.
The stats have been kind of tossed out the window at this point. However, and I'll be upfront about it. I think if my team's healthy and rolling, that I have the best team in the league. I don't think anybody's going to beat me. But that's not the case right now. I have 3 guys that aren't playing. So, like I said, if there was ever a week that I could lose, it's going to be this one. And even if I get by and there's still injury issues, that could still carry over to the next week as well. So it's really up in the air. I think it's going to be a great matchup. Like I said with your game, I think it's within 10 points. I think it's coming down to Sunday. But I'll go with Blake Wheeler here, and he's obviously going to get off to an early lead. So it'll be interesting to see how this one plays out. Final prediction.
Okay, I'm going to go chalk in this one, and I'm not doing it to jinx you. I actually do. If you get Malkin back for Thursday, Saturday. Do the Penguins play Sunday? Just click on the 29th. He's your first guy.
Yeah, they do. San Jose.
Oh, okay. So that's at home. Ooh, that's a good one. We should go to that one.
Well, we might have a lot riding on that game.
Could you imagine? That'd be great. Okay, so the Penguins do play Sunday. So, I mean, So you know what? You were right. I didn't realize they played Sunday. That's what Sam should hold on to Hornqvist. Just for the sake of, like, if you can get him back even for the weekend.
Yeah, 2 games.
Yeah, you get 2 chances, and it's 2 home games. So, in the first home games, a nooner against the Yotes.
Arizona.
Oh.
I'm hoping to have Malcolm back for that, because that's a lot like
Sunday.
Ben that I
can't believe it. That's a date night there. That might be a date night thing.
You got to like that.
Oh, my. Pen Shark with everything on the line.
That might be it.
Let's just say it. I mean, if somebody said right now you could sign a paper that said it's a 1-point game going into Sunday, I'd take it in a heartbeat.
Well, obviously you would, with all your San Jose guys going.
Well, yeah.
I don't think it's much of a question.
I'm a realist. No, but I mean that's awesome. I didn't realize that was the game on Sunday. I was actually kind of hoping for like shark oil.
That'd be nice.
I mean shark yote on a back-to-back. But with the what was that goalie's name that we looked up from the Coyotes? We were on Scores and Odds that one time. Oh my! And like literally, we did a Google search. We were sitting down here. It was one of the first days we had the TV up. They were playing the Penguins. It was when they played the Penguins. They had that guy in. Yeah, we had to look up the roster on that. It was.
But what's your final prediction?
I said you. I said you actually larger than the experts think. Going in like the opposite of Lee Corso.
I mean, you started saying that you were gonna roll with me, but then you said look at Malkin, look at the Penn schedule.
Right. So I like the fact that Malkin has an extra game.
Yeah.
Too, and you have Fleury who has an extra game, so he's gonna get. So I wonder what they'll do with him. So they play.
Grice is going to play against the Yotes, which sucks because that would have been a free 5 for Fleury.
So yeah, I'll be probably picking up Grice on Wednesday just to reassure that. But do they? Yeah, because Fleury will probably play Tuesday, Thursday, sit Saturday, play Sunday. Yeah. I would say is within reason. Let's see. What was his? That's it. Dominique.
Louis Dominique.
Domingue. But yeah, I remember rattling that off just like, oh my God. You said it, and it was like, how do you not bet the Yotes here? Did the Penguins win that game?
I don't recall. There's no way we've played them 3 times this year. Like, we played them the other night. We play them Saturday.
Yeah, that's true.
We were looking at that for a different
reason. For a different reason. Yeah, you're right, yeah, but for a different game, and now I'm trying to wonder because I feel like that was Pred. That was the Pred.
Oh, yeah, and the Preds it out like
in overtime.
Yeah,
that's what it was. Right. It was like 2-1. Yeah, so I'm sweating that one. But so I don't know. It's been fun. I don't know. Maybe like the season's long. I don't know. So we'll do a quick little aside here. Have you? How's Lob City?
Lob City, my fantasy basketball team. We're actually in week 2
of the playoffs.
Round 1. So we have 2 rounds, 2 weeks each. And the way the scoring works is you get 1 point for all the 8 different categories. So points, assists, rebounds,
so it's a rotisserie. Okay.
And we currently hold a 7-1 lead heading into the second week. So we're feeling pretty good.
Lob City.
And we're hoping we can close it up and punch our ticket into the championship. But we got a lot of work to do. And and also the same thing with that team. I have 4 or 5 guys that are day to day, and you don't know what to do because it's like you don't want to drop them, pick up some stiff, and then like a day later it's like they're fine, and then your opponent for maybe the championship match picks them up, and that could be the difference. So like it's such a fine line there.
So now this is correct me if I'm wrong. This is a team that's now been kind of kept. You very much kept up with this because at the beginning of the year, Madonna Auto Goal 95 owner, ex-Tesla Motor owner, told you that your team kind of stunk.
Yeah, that's been my motivation throughout the course of the year. So I drafted the team, the basketball team, and I was over at my cousin John's house maybe 2 days later, and I showed him the roster because I'm like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. You know, I was like looking off like ESPN ranking sheets.
Right.
And I'm like, what do you think? And he was kind of like, he made like some sarcastic joke about how I should just forget that the team was ever drafted. And if it wasn't for that comment, I probably would have forgot that the team was drafted. But that kind of motivated me to get going. And I'd be lying if I said I wasn't on NBA, ESPN Fantasy daily, looking at my players, picking up guys off the waiver wire. I mean, I'm all in on this, and I really hope I can win the championship and just send that picture, like, Lob City's the champion over to John. That would be the ultimate satisfaction for me.
To give some perspective on this, if you would have told me in September that you were going to follow a fantasy NBA basketball team into, is it March? The end of March. We're to March 23rd. Holy shit. I would have fallen over laughing. I mean, that's like... And
it should also be noted, this league is a free league, so if I win, I don't win anything.
You get a little trophy on your ESPN guy. Yeah, that's about it.
And it's for pride. That's what I always say. Winning fantasy championships is not about the money, it's about the pride. And, As GM, I'm staring down two, and I'd like to capture them both, but we'll have to see how it goes. Big week of matchups here for everyone across the board.
This is fun. I mean, like people. I mean, I can't. So for me, baseball season begins when hockey season ends.
And I've been that way too.
We've all been on. I think we're both on the record stating that on the video record here, but but I'm not excited for the Pirates. That's not even a thing. I may try to adopt a new team this year. I'll keep this going. So I'm not really sure. I may try to adopt a new baseball team just like for the fun of it, just to be able to more or less buy a new half zip, I think, maybe the reason, or quarter zip, since I'm the king of them. But I guess the Pirates starting is not a bad thing. You know, every once in a while you can flick on that TV or you listen to Greg Brown go bananas when the big fucking bull hits a home run. But that's starting soon, and I mean, we'll take what we can get here in Pittsburgh, I guess. But March Madness has been fun. As you can see, I'm supporting here Mountaineers in the Sweet 16 playing Kentucky. That's going to be a fucking bloodbath for the bad. Last time West Virginia played Kentucky, I was actually at the game. Actually, I forget if they played the year after that. They may have and lost, I think. I was at the game in Syracuse in the Carrier Dome when West Virginia upset the John Wall, DeMarcus Cousins Kentucky team that was like undefeated. No one thought we had a chance. And a player by the name of Joey Mazzulla and Deshaun Butler just destroyed the Kentucky Wildcats. We did not make a 2-point field goal in the first half of that game. My dad was, if you saw the Snaps chat from last night, my dad was doing about the same thing in the Carrier Dome, pacing up and down the stairs, screaming at the players how they couldn't shoot, how they couldn't do anything. We did not make a 2-point field goal, and we ended up beating Kentucky by 10. And my dad and I went to the bars afterwards. Then we bought tickets to the Final Four, and then we played Duke. So that was that's how it ended. We got cocktail. We had the spiciest cocktail sauce in the world after that Duke game, or the most like horseradishy. And I shit you not, our noses were like leaking and crying. It was fucking good, but the shrimp were huge in Indianapolis. That field is awesome, by the way. I say that's where if we do ever make a road trip to like a football game, we see Andrew Luck in the neckbeard on like a Sunday night fix.
Sounds good.
It was 6 hours away. Beautiful. They have the whole stadium opens. It's crazy. You have like a breeze coming through. I mean, it was in March, or I guess that was April, I guess technically, but it was awesome. So how's your bracket? You're busted.
Yeah, I'm done. My champion was Virginia. They lost in the second round yesterday, or technically the third round, but the round of 32.
That is a pet peeve of mine.
Yeah.
I agree.
But yeah. So
you you're done?
Yeah, I'm done. But we have to wrap it up here. We told Jonathan Quickie's owner, actually Sam Mendelson, that we'd be over at the gym at 2:30, and it's now 2:25.
You said 3.
Nah.
Yes. The initial text said we're going to the gym.
The initial one was, but that has now changed. So we're going to have to sign off here for the Intent to Injure podcast.
All right, we're signing,
and the sports update that we gave you there at the end.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us. Good luck to the playoff teams, and we'll be back with the championship podcast 1 week from today.
Let's go Pens, Wisconsin. Yay.